What's going on, everybody? It's the FF Mediators, and I'm joined by Coach. My name's Matt. Today, we're going to walk through Brian Thomas Jr., one of the premier fantasy wide receivers from this past rookie class. It's going to be really exciting to break this down, Coach. He's had an insane amount of targets the last 3 weeks in a row. He's putting up big fantasy numbers for our teams. What's your thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr.?
Man, this guy's been really good. You talk about stock going up. His stock is in the middle of skyrocketing as we speak. I mean, the guy can fly. He's a premier athlete. I mean, to me, there's just nowhere to go but up. He's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy we were drafting in rookie drafts at the end, you know, the 110 to the 112. And here we are now. His value shot up to, two firsts. And on Keep Trade Cut, he's valued at the wide receiver 7 right now, which I do think is a little bit inflated, but I don't think it's far off from where he should be. Um, last week he had 20 points against the Colts. The week before that, he had 18 points against Houston. The week before that, he only had 7, but he still had 9 targets. He is a focal point of this offense. Trevor Lawrence is keeping him involved, and Trevor Lawrence has got to get better, and I think he will. And Brian Thomas is going to be the benefactor of that.
Yeah, man, he's leading the team in targets. Like, who would have thought that going in? You would have thought Christian Kirk probably, but he actually has one more target than Kirk and 140 some yards more than Kirk. He's got a matchup with the Bears this week that on paper is not a great matchup, but the secondary is beat up for Chicago. They're down 2 of their 4 starters in the secondary. That has to help him a little bit. If Ingram comes back, that could steal some target share, but at the same time, that'll take a little more pressure off and might lead to some more big plays from Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, and you look at his yards per catch on the season, and he's got 4 games where he's above 10 yards per catch. The other game, he was at 9.6. So when he's catching the ball, it's a first down. So if you have a league where you get points for first downs, that's another benefit for you. It's kind of surprising the amount of volume he's had. He kind of felt like he might be more of a big play threat when you drafted him, but it kind of looks like he's going to be a center point of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 touchdowns on the season. He's had some close calls in the back of the end zone, or it could have been even higher. Like, he's going to be a go-to guy there for a long time, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like you said, he's only 22 years old, so he's young. He's still learning, and he's going to get to grow with Trevor Lawrence. Whether you like Trevor Lawrence or not,
Mhm.
he's a young quarterback, and the two of them are going to develop a relationship and a connection. So I think there's a good chance that that only increases and gets better. My question to you, Coach, is here we are hyping him up. Is he a buy or is he a sell for you?
Always 100% buy for me. The problem is you may have already missed that window without having to pay a lot. Like, I want this guy on my team if I can get it. Now, I've got a question for you. Would you rather have Brian Thomas Jr. or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Wow, that is a big question there, and it's kind of funny we're sitting here talking about that. I think
Right.
in a vacuum, I would rather have Marvin Harrison, but if I could take Marvin Harrison and turn him into Brian Thomas, I would entertain that because you're going to get a plus on top of that. Like I think the Marvin Harrison name value is still really high, and I know he's someone you've been critical of, whose value tends to be around 3 first. Would you trade Marvin Harrison for Brian Thomas and a random first? I absolutely would.
Yeah, like I think Brian Thomas Jr. is better. Like, I just do. Like, I think Marvin Harrison will be a solid wide receiver 2 in the NFL for a long time. That's just where I am with him right now. Like, things can change. But I think Brian Thomas Jr. could be elite.
Yeah, and he's proven that already. Like the big plays have just been consistent. Like he's had one what feels like almost every single game. And like you said, there's been more that he's missed on, just barely.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I,
like, I mean, this dude can play.
yeah, he can flat out ball, and if I can have him on my fantasy team, I want him there. Um, you
Mhm.
know, if the Jags are bad, like a lot of people think, then wouldn't that only lead to just more targets for Brian Thomas because they're going to be down and needing to throw the ball?
Yeah, more targets, but I do think like this offense is on the rise. Like, it's going to continue to get better. They're going to be a team that's going to win maybe half their games down the stretch, in my opinion. The defense isn't great, but I mean, this offense continues to get better. So I just think he's going to keep going up and up and up.
And you mentioned the offense getting better. When you're looking at the box score for Trevor Lawrence, the last 4 games, he's thrown the ball at least 30 times. So, that's a lot of volume to go around in this offense. Ingram's been out. Kirk hasn't been the best. I mean, he's kind of come on the last couple weeks. ETN's, what do we make of ETN? Tank Bigsby's now coming in the offense. So I think Brian Thomas has proven he's this team's best playmaker, and he's going to have to be involved if they're going to win ball games.
Yeah, totally. So where do you stand between like Brian Thomas Jr. and Xavier Worthy?
Oh, give me Thomas, and it's not even close. You know, that's just me. I know Worthy has the speed, Worthy has Patrick Mahomes. That's great, but for me, I'm selling Worthy if I can. He's kind of proven that the name is carrying a lot for him and the speed. And I would rather have Brian Thomas, and I don't think that should be crazy to say. What about you?
Like I think Worthy might be the better athlete, so they might manufacture some touches for him here or there. But Brian Thomas Jr. to me is the better wide receiver. So in that sense, that's the guy I would rather have.
Yeah, and we say that of Worthy being the better athlete, and obviously he broke the record on the 40, but Brian Thomas still
Mhm.
ran a 4.33. So that's really, really fast. Um, other names that I think might shock people is, would you rather have Brian Thomas or Chris Olave?
Ooh, man, that's really close. Like, and to say that, that means a lot, right?
Hmm.
I mean, to me, that's a coin flip for me.
I think it's really close. I'm going to go Thomas just based on what he's doing right now. Olave is kind of struggling. We're now going to have a backup quarterback in New Orleans, so we'll see how that goes. Um, what about Garrett Wilson? Would you rather have Garrett Wilson or Brian Thomas?
I personally would rather have Garrett Wilson. Like his target share is nuts. So I
Hmm.
mean, I just think he's going to at least be mid on a bad week because his target share is so good. I was thinking like Drake London. What are your thoughts there?
Ooh. I think that one is so here's the thing for me. I think Garrett Wilson, Brian Thomas, Chris Olave, Drake London, I think all those guys are in the same tier. So I don't think we're too far off. I think, man, I might take Brian Thomas just based on the youth. But I
Mhm.
can't fault anyone who wants Drake London because it kind of finally looks like it's clicking in Atlanta for Drake to be that guy that we've been wanting him to be, just peppered with targets. He's working in the slot a little bit more and getting more
Mhm.
opportunities rather than only lining up outside.
Yeah, I think I would take Drake myself right now. Like I've always been kind of a Drake believer, and he's finally showing that a little bit. Like I think I would hang on the Drake right now, but I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you went the other way.
Yeah. And let me ask you one more. I think this one might be a little bit tougher for you. I think we're still kind of floating around that same tier. Would you rather have Brian Thomas or Roma Dunze?
Oh man, like right now, and having watched so much of Rome too, like I think maybe Brian Thomas Jr. That hurts me to say that, but maybe Brian Thomas Jr. Rome has not looked like I hoped he would look.
Yeah. And I mean, the Bears offense is kind of coming along each week. So
Mhm.
we'll kind of see what they do this week, ironically, playing the Jags, like you've already said. So we'll get to watch the two face off and kind of see who can produce. But I mean, for me, like you said, Brian Thomas is a buy.
Absolutely. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, bye, bye. Stock's going up. Can't wait to see what this young guy does for the rest of the season. But that's going to do it for us, folks. So be sure to follow us on X at the FF Mediators. Subscribe to the YouTube. Comment below what's your thoughts on Brian Thomas. Are you buying? Are you selling? Have you done a recent trade? Because we're interested to know. And if you want to hear more from us, catch us live every Wednesday on the Faceoff Sports Network and on our channel as well at 8:30 Eastern. And you can also catch us at the halftime of the Thursday night game over on X. We've got a space we do every week. But until then, we will see you then, guys.